So what is the angle of repose? It's just the maximum angle at which a given material is stable. So anything steeper than that, the material will start to slide or fail. So we have our definition here, the steepest angle at which a material is stable. Nice and easy. A couple things can influence this, and it's stuff you've probably actually seen in your everyday life, but let's take a couple easy examples. Let's take sand. So if you were to take some loose sand and just pour it from a cup onto a table, I think you can picture that sand would start to pile up and it would end up forming kind of a pile of sand, maybe at about that angle there, right? So what we would do is measure our angle of repose from the horizontal. So we'd take this horizontal plane and we'd take this angle right in here. So whatever degrees that was at off of horizontal. So 0 is flat, 90 degrees is straight down, so it would be somewhere in between that. Now, if you were to take that same sand and add water to it like you do at the beach, sandcastles you can produce with the correct amount of water, a totally vertical angle. So its angle of repose is 90 degrees. So if we draw something like that, little kid at the beach, or big kids like me, here is my sandcastle with the correct amount of water. I would take my horizontal line, and so my degree there is 90 degrees. So the amount of water will actually change that angle of repose. If I were to take this same sand and add a ton more water, that sand just turns into a big mess and its angle of repose is basically 0, right? It's just like flat, it just slides out everywhere. So water is a really big factor in it. The second thing that we have to think about is the size of the grains. So if you picture, instead of little sand, kind of gritty sized beachy grains, and you picture something like the size of marble, but like little marbles, but maybe kind of angular, so not super round and smooth, I think you can picture how you would be able to, if you just dumped that out, it would very likely produce a much steeper angle of repose, right? So you could, instead of this kind of flatter sort of surface, you'd have something at a steeper angle. And so if I again draw my horizontal line here, you would see that this angle is much larger than the sand angle. So the size of the material actually plays a big role there as well. So angle of repose, steepest angle at which the material won't fail, any steeper it starts to slide down. And water plays a big role. Think sand and sand castles. Add a little water, get a steeper angle. Add too much water, the whole slope fails. And then the size of the material as well. So this works with geologic materials when we think about mass wasting. So a little bit of water can be really helpful to kind of stabilize a slope, but too much water after a rainfall, something like that, can really cause instability and that slope to fail.